Hi, it's Melanie Benson here, host of New Era Success TV and evolutionary strategist. I want to bring up a book that I read not too long ago called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. This is a book that, you ever have one of those books that kind of just comes in at the right time and defines who you become over the next few months and maybe even years? And in my life, there's been a few of these kind of books, and this came to me. I actually have to credit my friend Alexis Martin-Neely, or otherwise known as Ali Shanti, for bringing this into my world a couple years ago, maybe even closer to 3 years ago now, where I was really at the precipice of a challenging, all this stuff was changing, and I was feeling like everything was being stripped away from me, and it was a really painful time. And I was trying to make sense of what was happening, and I didn't understand. I had been really, really, really good at my work for so long, and all of a sudden it felt like everything was freezing up, and I didn't understand it. And she had shared this book on her blog and talked about how it had really impacted her, and so I thought, okay, I have to get this book. And I'm hoping I'm going to have the same effect on you, that you're going to hear what I have to say about this and run out and get this book. Order it today if you haven't already. As a matter of fact, I've given it to all of the clients who went through my Big Idea Incubator live experience as a bonus. Because one of the things that it talks about in The Big Leap, the subtitle is Conquer Your Hidden Fear and Take Life to the Next Level. You know, when you're in this evolution and you get that this new era for you is about creating success on your terms and being everything that you were meant to be and not holding back, what happens is that oftentimes we have to shed everything that is in our way. We have to shed the things that hold us back. We have to shed the conditions and the belief systems and the constraints that we are buying into in our world. And so The Big Leap talks about really understanding the difference between your zone of genius and your zone of excellence. It talks about what it means when you are resisting and opting for comfort, when it's time for you to really step into this next level of your success. And, you know, we see it, we always go through it. You know, when we're bumping up against that comfort zone, we've talked about fear, we've talked about all the things that happen. Well, what we don't oftentimes recognize is that one of the things we do to ourselves that he talks about is when we get that there is a level of genius that we're meant to step into, we can also really get stuck because we hit what's called our upper limit. There's an unconscious protector inside of us that wants to keep us safe and comfortable, and the ego part of our mind and the way we work is about really staying safe. And when you stay safe, you can't grow. When you're opting for keeping things the same so that nothing happens, what happens the most is that you get this massively deep pain inside your heart. You begin to ache inside. You know that something's off, and yet you don't want to do anything about it. You feel a sense of despair, or you feel like a longing, and you don't understand it. Or you could go through what I went through, which is everything just gets ripped out of your life that's about that old way of being, because you got to make space and you have to make room for this next evolution. So there was something in here about the genius part, because there's two ways to access it that I've learned. One way is to make what you're becoming so juicy, so exciting, and so important to you that you can't not step into it. I call that making your why so juicy that everything else falls away. Or you shed everything, you get liberated from what's holding you back, and you make room for it. Now that's what happened to me, and that's actually the more painful way sometimes. Sometimes you can be intentional about it, but something that can work even in more congruency is to make the thing that you want better. So that means you have to really understand what your zone of genius is. What is that thing that's calling to you? How do you answer that call inside of you? So when I did the Big Idea Incubator, and when people go through that online learning now, what they discover is that there's a way to access their genius. And so until you pick up the book for yourself, here's some things that you could explore. What do I most love to do? What is it that I do naturally without anybody in making it a should or forcing me? It just happens. I love doing it. What is it that you do where other people are frustrated by that process, or they don't get it, and you just get it. And you might even actually get frustrated with them because they're like, why do you not know this? Why is this so hard for you? He also talks about doing work that doesn't feel like work. What do you do that just is so effortless and so in flow? One of my coaches a few years back, he kept challenging me to say, Melanie, what do you do? What is the thing that you love to do the most on this planet? And one of the things that is for me is snorkeling. I love, you could probably tell from the pictures behind me, like I am a water goddess. Like I melt in the water. I love it. It creates ease and flow for me. And so floating in the water, looking at the fish and being one with this just space and time where it just melts is like play. It is just easy for me. And so he kept challenging me to start thinking about what is it that my work is that feels like that. And so what I recognized is creating, being able to share something like this is so much about effortless. Sharing my lessons, talking to someone and just exploring where they are in their evolution and being able to guide them and almost midwife this next evolution in them. That's so easy. It's like snorkeling. So what is it that? And what is it when you don't feel that? And begin to recognize that. So just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's your genius. Your genius actually feels a little scary. You feel like you're on the edge of something. I've been working with this just amazing client, and he has this really unique body of work in working with men. And so part of it has been working with men with addictions, and part of it has been he's been feeling this call to step into something bigger, to help men become a very intentional man in his life and in his relationships. And he's been in this war between the two places. And so in this work that he's done with me in the Big Idea Incubator and in our coaching, he's discovered that the more he answers the call to who he's becoming, it feels more effortless. It's allowing him to use energies inside of him that are so easy. He's not exhausted at the end of the day. When he does this other work that he's good at and he's become well known for, it still feels like work. To some degree, there's things he loves about it, to be fair. So it's about finding that energy for you. So here's the opportunity, is to say, as you step into creating success on your terms, how are you going to find your zone of genius? How are you going to get to the place where you can tell yourself the truth about what's not? What will need to happen for you to have the courage to shed those things that are holding you back? If you've built a business that's really successful, but it's not on your genius, you may have a lot of resistance to this idea, even though you feel the call. And many of my colleagues have self-combusted and blown up because they don't answer the call. And some of them gracefully make the transition, and so the choice is yours. If you're already feeling this energy of everything's in chaos and disarray because you don't know what your genius is, in a lot of ways, it's great because you're already at the bottom. Now all you have to do is say yes to the next steps. So I really highly suggest you get the book. It's The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Grab the book. Work through the process. If you want to go deeper into it, I would highly suggest that you consider becoming a New Era entrepreneur with us, or get a copy of the Big Idea Incubator self-study system and walk through this. You can't afford to stay stuck in what's happening in our world. This is the time to soar. This is time to unleash all of your genius on the world. So I'm Melanie Benson Strick. I'd love to hear your comments below.